So all the participants, faculty members, I am very happy to welcome Dr. Mousami Bhowal from Hislop College, Nagpur. Presently, she is working as a associate professor and head Department of Botany, Hislop College. Let me introduce her in very brief. She completed her graduation and post-graduation from Calcutta and PhD from Nagpur University. She had few research projects under her guidance. She had given many lectures also. The reason why I have invited her for this lecture is that since last 15 years, she is conducting the flower exhibition in her college. And I think that is perhaps the unique activity in any college which is conducted with such a great consistency. So that is why I have invited her to deliver a lecture on flower exhibition, and that flower exhibition will depict the flower diversity also. So it is a very interesting lecture, and her presentation style is also very nice. So I welcome Dr. Mousami Bhowal Madam for this session. All participants and faculty members are also most welcome. And now we will enjoy the lecture by Bhowal Madam. So Bhowal Madam, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Good morning to all the students. It is really my pleasure to be able to talk to you today. And I am very thankful to Dr. Kasture for providing me with this opportunity to address all of you. I will take just a second. I'll just put on the slides. So please just bear with me. I'll just put the slide. Is the slide visible, sir?
Yes, madam. Yes, okay. Very clear.
Okay. So like I just told you, students, it is really my pleasure to be speaking to all of you. And like sir just said, we will be discussing floriculture. And we decided to discuss about floriculture because it is all based on my personal experience at Hislop College, where we have been carrying out this floriculture activity on an educational as well as a commercial basis. And we have been doing so for the last 13 for the last 16 years, more than a decade, and it has been put up year after year. Now, one thing is there, when we talk about floriculture, it is very difficult to define this term floriculture because it does not have a preconceived form or a shape. For example, if we are to explain or define a geometrical figure, say a square, a circle, a rectangle, or a triangle, we would know how to describe it. But floriculture, for that, it doesn't have a definition which I can just give it to you. So the closest explanation can be, it is the art of growing, it is the art and knowledge of growing plants to perfection. So when we say plants to perfection, we do not mean flowers, because when we talk of floriculture or we are talking of plants, the first thing that comes to one's mind is the flowers. Now, when we say floriculture, it will also include the foliage plants, the ornamental foliage plants. Now, foliage are these leafy plants, as you can see on the slide. And these plants are also very, very important because of their beauty as leaves. They are very ornamental, they are decorative, and they are also very costly. So the where floriculture will include flowers, they will include these foliage leaves, they will include the bonsai, which we are quite aware of, all of us, and also the cactus. Besides these, they will include potted plants. They will include cut flowers, the flowers that you and I go out to buy from the market. It will include different types of trees of various shapes and sizes, as well as it will include plants which are used for landscaping as well as gardening. Now, students, um, till some time back, it was thought floriculture is should be exclusively associated with a particular group, maybe life sciences, or very precisely to botany, or maybe to agriculture, but it is no longer so. Nowadays, floriculture is no longer the sole domain of any botanist or any agricultural scientist. In fact, this has become a major contributor to the economy of any country. In the European countries and many of the South African nations, a major part of their economy is based on floriculture. We are yet to catch up with them, but their mainstay is floriculture as far as the economy of the country is concerned. Now, is gardening and floriculture the same? Is there any difference between the two? And if there is a difference, what is it? So these are the few things which I will try to briefly tell you. Students, I thought when I was deciding to speak to you on floriculture, I wanted to give you a brief history. Uh, Floriculture is gradually becoming very, very important for India as well. So I thought let me take you through a journey where you know how and when did it become part of our society. So just a few slides before I go to what we do at Hislop, I will just try to explain how it has become a part and when did it become a part of our culture. Practically, if we speak, there is a very, very thin line, almost overlapping, that separates gardening from floriculture. They're more or less the same. Fundamentally, if you say, gardening has been the basic concept and it has been existing traditionally, and it is existing traditionally since the start of civilization, but gradually it has changed, and floriculture part se floriculture alag se has evolved, and it is used in a very, very wider context. So when I say it was there, floriculture was traditionally there, and it is as old as our civilization, you will know how. The history, the first history or recorded history of ornamental plants in India dates back to around 3rd millennium BC. It is a long time ago. And how do we know that? How we can say it with conviction that India had ornamental plants? Ornamental plants matlab jo plants sajane ke liye lagaye jate hain. So they had these ornamental plants growing there in our country, in our civilization, in our country, sometimes way back in 3 millennium BC. because it is evident from excavated seals at Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. I am very sure all of us have heard, whether we belong to any discipline, we know about Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. So if you look at this slide and you can see this seal, it was unearthed from the Mohenjo-daro civilization. And as you can see plants, some leaves, along with some animals depicted in this seal. Now, these leaves, which were depicted way back in Mohenjo-daro, are the leaves of people tree. इसको what बोलते हैं? If I have pronounced it correctly, this is people which was there during the times of Mohenjo-daro civilization. And this is the seal which was excavated during the Harappan civilization. And if you look at the leaves which are depicted on the seal, they're exactly like these leaves. And these leaves, they belong to a plant which vernacular name we call it weeping willow. Salix बोलते हैं botany में, weeping willow, we call it weeping willow. And I did look it up in the net to see if I would get the vernacular name. So the closest name that I got from the net was Namra Vriksha. I do not know whether you have heard of it, but you must have heard of cricket. All of us have heard of cricket. And this tree, the wood of this tree is very durable, commercially very viable, and this wood is used to make cricket bats. So, mind you, these two plants which are grown now were being grown at that time. So people during those times were definitely cultivating ornamental plants to beautify their surroundings. Is it not very interesting? So what we see today was also part of our culture at that time. So this is how it started. Now, later on, with the advent of various dynasties, as the different dynasties started appearing, we saw the plants of prominence also underwent a change. There was a shift in the plants that they were growing. Now, during the time of Ashoka the Great, he is known for planting lot of trees in and around our country. Now, during his time, the thrust was on avenue trees. So what are avenue trees? Avenue trees are those trees which are grown along both sides of the road, and they are meant to give you shade. So these were the roadside trees and they were grown in big number. So what were these trees? This is Shirish, Sal, people. Then there was this tree Kadam. And this is Michaelia champaka. I may not pronounce it properly. आप लोग इसको चापा बोलते हैं. So these were the trees which were grown. They were big trees, medium-sized trees, but the basic idea was to give shade. Now, this was as far as the period of Ashoka was concerned. I'm just focusing on few of the trees because otherwise we will not have the time to tell you about our own thing. Now, what happened during the period of Guptas, followed by Mughals and the Rajputs? Now, during the period of Guptas, they were also growing trees, but they started introducing some flowering plants like the jasmine, then the hibiscus, the आप इन्हें जासवंत बोलते हैं, and then swastika. This is known as Taberna montana in botany. Little botany में जब हम नाम बोलते हैं, they're little tongue twisters. So the common names you would know, this is jasmine, jaswant, and the swastik. Now during the Gupta period, students, they divided the garden into four basic types meant for particular functions. There were gardens meant for the enjoyment of royal couples. There were gardens for worship. There was also garden for games, and there were gardens exclusively where people went to do the worship, the prayers. So flowers, floriculture, gardening, this were really very important as far as we in India are concerned. Now, with the Mughals, there were a series of gardens which were laid down, but the plants that were there, the trees were there. So what trees were planted, always remember, trees have a long life. Once you have planted a tree, it will be there for a long time. So trees were the basic requirement, or what the people in different dynasties they followed. But there were certain signature plants, बिल्कुल अलग से कुछ plants थे. तो during the time of Mughals, they laid down a number of gardens and with a variety of plants. One of the signature plant was keoda, the keoda plant that we use even today to extract scent. So ये एक plant था जो कि उन लोगों ने grow किया, and they were also very prominently, they introduced different varieties of jasmine and jasmine, and particularly rose. So it was, Babar who introduced the Persian rose, जिसको हम लोग black rose कहते हैं. So the Persian rose was introduced by Babur. And one of the last gardens that was established by one of the Mughal Nawabs, that is Wajid Ali Shah, is the present Botanical Research Institute in Lucknow. This is the research institute, and these people also work extensively in chrysanthemum, the Shevanti. और इसमें they are working on this, they are bringing out new plants, they are also putting up exhibitions. A good work is being done by this particular institute. Now, after the Mughals, the Rajput Rajas, the Rajput kings, they also laid down gardens with plants, flower plants, trees. But look here, we can see a basic change. There are flowering plants, there are trees, but now they have started using structures. Structures matlab, they started using fountains, fawara. They started using water course. So the garden of Chittor, the Mandar garden of Jodhpur are just a few. They had laid down a large number of gardens. So after them came the Britishers, and they completely changed the whole pattern. Till the Britishers were yet to come, till then it was mostly gardens with trees and some types of flowering plants. But now what they did, they initiated mostly the flowering plants. They included large number of flowering plants which were full of color, very vibrant, and it was altogether a colorful concept that they advocated. उन लोगों ने डालिया ग्रो किया, उन लोगों ने वर्बेना ग्रो किया, उन्होंने कार्नेशन ग्रो किया, they grew vinca, phlox, and these are the names. I'm sorry, I cannot give you the vernacular name, but these are the plants which are present even today. If we go to the market and we want bouquet, these are the plants which are included. Dianthus कहते हैं इसको, carnation, dahlia, ये सब आपने देखा होगा. Maybe you are not familiar with the name, but these were the plants which were introduced, and they are very much part of floriculture in India now. Even at our place, we are growing these plants. Very easily they can be grown. Now, this was a whole new chapter in Indian floriculture, the introduction of flowering plants, ornamental flowering plants. But the biggest contribution of the British is the botanical garden at Calcutta. They established the botanical garden in Calcutta, and let me tell you, my dear students, this is a place of very rich biodiversity as far as plants are concerned. Of course, if there are plants, there would be animals. It covers miles altogether, and you have very rich plants growing there. A very, very thick, rich biodiversity is seen here. Now, as we have seen across these many slides, um, the plants that were grown over the time were for shade, were for fragrance, were for beauty, were for aesthetics, and these were as per the social liking of a particular period, as per their cultural liking, as per their cultural requirement in particular era. So gradually, when we come to the recent, I consider Vrindavan Garden, the construction of Vrindavan Garden, as recent. This was started in the year 1927, and it was completed in 1932, and it was started by the Diwan of Mysore. Why I consider it as a present day, because I feel this is an icon of India's legacy as far as growing plants and flowers are concerned. We have carried on what we got from our forefathers, and we carried it out, and this is the legacy, this is the living, what can I say, a living proof that we got something and we carried it forward. And this particular garden, it showcases how an ancient art of growing plants and flowers was gradually evolving itself in a definite manner, in a definite form. And this continuous evolution in modern day is floriculture with a very broad perspective. So what started in the third millennium base BC has now taken the shape of floriculture, and now it is considered as a science. Now, there might be questions in our mind. Why floriculture? कस्तूरे सर ने ये क्यों रखा फ्लोरिकल्चर हम सब के लिए as a talk? Like I told you, floriculture is really becoming very important as far as economy is concerned. Floriculture is becoming very, very important as an alternative source of income. So it is high time that we start taking, thinking about floriculture in a big way. Like you have understood, and before I go further, students, आप लोगों का questions रहेगा. You should have questions. Please keep on jotting them, and we can have a small discussion after I finished telling you about our unit. So I would like all of you to have questions to clarify whatever you feel you do not follow or you need a better understanding. So why floriculture? Why should we be thinking about floriculture? Now, as we have seen, floriculture in various forms have been an integral part of our society. ये तो बिल्कुल clear हो गया है, but it is very sad, the true potential of floriculture has not been fully understood, neither it has been exploited, nor it has received the priority it deserves. And more so for a country like ours. See, our country is a very vast country with a wide, diverse range of climatic conditions. इतना तरह का climatic condition है कि it provides viability for growth of different types of flowers. Whether the flowers are exotic, whether the flowers are local, whether the flowers are common type in different parts of our country, of this huge country. ये एक बहुत important point है. In other parts of the world, they have a very specific type of climatic condition. We don't have such a limited factor here. Secondly, we all know, irrespective of the region of our origin, in all our communities, flowers play a very important role. Whether you belong to region X, whether you belong to region Y, or you belong to region Z, flowers are an integral part of our lives. No function is complete without the use of flower. Finally, the most important point is floriculture plays a very, very, very important role in sustainable management of our very vulnerable environment. This you know, but many a times we overlook these small things. Our environment is at a tipping point. बिल्कुल टिपिंग पॉइंट में है. It can go either ways. We can see the climatic change. We can see the changes which are very, very abrupt. Now, this floriculture, it is helping this environment to remain compact. How? It is numerous, but I'll just tell you a few points which you have seen, which I have seen, but we take it in our stride and we forget. It helps to combat global warming. They have a capacity to absorb carbon emission, so they help in combating the heat. They help in filtering of pollutants from the rainwater. They prevent runoff. I hope you know what is runoff. Runoff means आजकल जो rains होते हैं, it is in form of a deluge. We don't have slow rainfall over a long period of time. We'll have rainfall for 3-4 days and whole lot of water. It does not percolate. It washes off. It's of no use. So when we have these flowering plants grown, they will help the water to percolate down, go into the water, deep into the soil. So they prevent runoff. They also help as wind breakers. अब ये जो plant है, मैंने बहुत ढूंढा students, I just could not find the name in Marathi. इसको casuarina बोलते हैं, and when I looked it up on the net, it said casuarina. ये वाला plant है, and it is very common in and around Maharashtra. It is grown in regions of coastal regions as well. And there is this plant which is an angiospermic plant, palash jaisa plant hai, with very bright colored flowers. This is known as erythrina. So casuarina and erythrina, they act as wind breakers. Wind breakers when there is strong storm or there is a cyclonic condition. If these plants, they grow, they're very thick, they have large number of branches, so these branches, they absorb the speed, cut down on the speed. So these winds which blow at a very high speed, they are prevented from causing a whole lot of damage. And another very important point, they also help to cut down on noise pollution. So these are the importance, they are not scientific importance, they are the common important points of floriculture, but we overlook them many a time. And above all, and the aesthetic value is big. It not only beautifies the environment, it also brightens up our surroundings. I think we all agree on that. If we have a vase of flowers sitting on the desk, we feel good. So students, do we as students, do we have a connect with floriculture? Does floriculture play an important role in our lives? How are we associated with floriculture? Yes, we are associated. You as students are associated, and I would say all of us are associated in a big way. Now, all conventional education, like yours, like mine, where we have conventional subjects like science, arts, commerce. Students, when they complete these courses, they will seek employment either in academics or in research or in business or maybe in commerce. And mind you, floriculture has all these aspects inbuilt. So if we take up this will provide an wide open area in which multidisciplinary students can find sustainable career options. Not only career options, students, there is also a provision for a lot of growth. And this is the reason, why floriculture can be developed as a short-term skill development course in degree colleges. Because when I say skill, they are not very specific, very specialized skill sets. These are simple skills which any student from any field, why student, anybody can acquire them and over a very short period of time. And this was the idea. This idea drove us at Hislop to develop floriculture way back in 2003. And the annual flower show was our brand ambassador. Now, for the next few slides, I will be telling you how this was set up and what exactly we do to give this knowledge to the students. Now, this was set up, like I told you, in 2003, and we have been able to sustain it for more than a decade. Um, it is difficult, but not. I would not say it is impossible. Uh, Now, December is the month for the annual flower show at Hislop College. Every year, December. So, coming month, God willing, we'll have a show. So, since its inception in 2003, this show students have grown in stature and has actually reached greater heights. Initially, when we started it, it was thought, it was perceived as a small college event. But over the years, it has become an important event in the city's garden calendar. Uh, this show of chrysanthemum and the seasonal flowers have around 20 to 25,000 plants grown in house. All these 25,000 plants are grown in Hislop College in the department. None of the plants, students, none of the plants are outsourced from outside. बाहर से एक plant भी नहीं आता है. And this show has been highlighted by media due to the presence of so many flowers under one roof. Because Hislop is a non-agricultural college and it is a simple conventional college dealing with science, arts and commerce. Just in a lighter vein, अभी अगर हम चाहें कि we don't want the flower show, हो गया 16 साल, people will not let us stop it. Now the situation is such. So we have to do it. And this year, because of COVID and unnatural conditions, we are thinking how to do it. And when we have decided, I will send across the message to to Kasture sir. So I will invite all of you to visit us, maybe online. So students, now I want you to understand how big it is and what actually happens. This is the time when you should be little careful, and if you have queries, just keep on jotting them down. So the preparation of this show starts in the month of February. This is a year-long process, and in February, what are the major activities that we concentrate? Cultivation, propagation माने multiplication, disease control, and general maintenance. Now, when we are talking about a show of this proportion, it will require a lot of planning at all the different stages. But the first and foremost is soil, because soil is the growing medium of 25,000 odd plants. And this soil needs to be sterilized. Sterilized माने इसमें कोई भी कीटाणु ना रहे, so that when the plants are grown, they are not caught up or they do not catch any infection. So they have to be sterilized. Now, for such a big show, we deal with lot of soil. So we have to apply methods for sterilization, which is natural and cost effective. We don't have that much of money at hand so that we can use anything and we can spend any amount of money. Money is a very, very limiting resource. So we have to think of ways and means which is natural. So best way of sterilization is through solar radiation, sun rays, which is in abundance because we are near to the equator. And it is very easy for all of us to get a whole lot of sunlight. This is basically done in the month of April and May. So this soil, this is laid down in layers. This is spread out. क्यों spread out करते हैं? So that it gets maximum exposure from the sun. Thereafter, it is mixed with cow dung manure. How? A layer of soil followed by a layer of the cow dung manure. Later, this soil is kept ready in the packets. As you can see, these are the packets and the pots. We keep these packets and pots ready for transplantation. Plant को grow करके इनमें हम लोग transfer करते हैं. That is known as transplantation. Now, besides these packets, we also have to prepare some beds. We have to prepare beds. So as you can see, these are the beds. These beds are made up of sand. These are sand beds, and these are prepared for propagation, for multiplication. Now these sand beds are made generally in greenhouse. We should have them in greenhouse, but again, let me tell you, we are a poor country. We do not have all the infrastructure that we need. So we have to think of ways and means so that we can do it in a manner where it is possible to do it in a small amount. So this is generally done in a polyhouse. Polyhouse means it can have a shade with a very thick polythene. Even that can work. That can work wonders. So in a polyhouse, we lay a bed of bricks of 2 to 3 layers and we put sand here. This sand is then sterilized. Sterilized generally with formaldehyde. And 7 days prior to transplantation, we cover these sand beds with polythene so that moisture and water does not enter it. And the fumes that are produced by formaldehyde, it will sterilize these sand beds. The basic concept behind sterilization, whether it is soil or sand, is to prevent the young plants from catching any sort of disease. And here, why do we not use the soil? I will tell you in some time when we do the multiplication part of it. Here sand is used because sand will allow percolation. Pani अंदर चला जाएगा and there would be no stagnation. पानी जमा नहीं रहेगा and thus it will prevent the rotting of the young plants. So the first step after we have the beds ready, the first step is rooting. This is the most important and the decisive process as far as multiplication of plants are concerned. Again, I might sound repetitive, but we have to remember, if we are initiating a commercial venture, the cost effectiveness should be foremost in our minds. There has to be a profit factor always involved. And this rooting method of propagation, of multiplication, is the cheapest. बहुत सस्ता है. It requires very simple basic skills, and it requires limited manpower. And this is why we at Hislop has taken it up. Now, what happens, students? These young plants, they are the mother plants. Now, the tip of the mother plant are cut with a sharp razor. And the cut should be such that when we cut it in a one go, we cut it off. Why? Because that way we will not be damaging any other part of the plant. So हम tip को काट देते हैं. This tip, it has an active bud. Bud is the region which divides and it ensures growth. So this tip is cut off, and the tip is then dipped in a solution of fungicide. Fungicide, side mane any chemical that will kill a fungus. These are very small baby plants. We have to protect them because they are susceptible to infection and disease. So after the tip has been cut, they are placed in the sand bed at regular intervals. Now, in the previous slide, when you are cutting down the tip, you can see that there are large number of leaves. But when we are planting them, you will see it. We take off, we remove the excess leaves. We can keep only one pair of leaf and the bud. Why? Because optimum growth can take place, and this single pair of leaf can manufacture their own food. And scientifically, we call that process as photosynthesis. So that photosynthesis can happen. There is only one pair of leaf, and because there is a bud, it will go on dividing and growth will happen. And you can see we have maintained a distance between two plantlets. This is because so that there is no competition amongst them for food and water. This is very, very important. And we will keep the plants in the bed for a fortnight, 15 din, with regular watering. These young plants are called as rooted cuttings. So they have been cut off from the mother plant and they have been placed in the beds. And as you can see, we have put small planks of wood to separate one variety from the other. So this is after 10 days and this is after a month. Now they are all grown. And this is the time when they are grown such big, that means they have developed their roots. They are now small young plants which are in a position to be transplanted. Students, these young plants which now have developed roots, these are known as rooted cuttings. So we had around 800 mother plants. From 800 mother plants, we can produce few thousands of rooted cuttings. खाली 800 प्लांट थे, 800 से हमारे पास 20, 22, 25,000 plants बन गए. And do we need many skills? No. We need very simple skills and we do not need a big workforce. Each mother plant can produce 50 rooted cuttings. तो आप calculation कर लीजिए. 800 है and each can produce. You will know it better than me. So what happens, ये 800 कहाँ से आए? For example, we have grown 25,000 plants. During the flower show, we sell off every plant. Why do we want to sell off all the plant? फालतू, we have to maintain them. वो space लेगा, वो manpower लेगा. That is that we do not want to do that work. So everything is sold off so that we generate a revenue for ourselves. We only retain 800 plants of different varieties, total 800. So they will be the mother plant for the next season. Maintenance भी कम है और इनको पालना भी easy है. And that is how our process goes on. So these rooted cuttings are now transplanted in the pots. So after they have been transplanted in the pots, 1 month after transplanting, these plants are subjected to a process known as pinching. ये आप देख रहे हैं ना यहाँ पे again ये when they have been planted, just when we plant it थोड़े weak लगते हैं, लेकिन 7 दिन के बाद they are good, and after 1 month they are so healthy. So after 1 month we pinch the tip. Why do we pinch the tip? Once we pinch the tip, pinch money with these 2 fingers, we pinch it, and it is so soft, it is very easy to pinch it off. जैसे हम इसको pinch off कर देते हैं, this apical part, it ensures the growth of branches. So pinching is very, very important. So we remove the apical bud from the main stem. This ensures multiple branches and it will give a bushy appearance to the plant. And at least there should be 3 pinches, and generally this is over by September. हमने फरवरी में शुरू किया, धीरे धीरे करते करते हमने पिंचिंग सितंबर में खत्म किया. 3 pinches होने चाहिए. And then it will be a totally a bushy look. This is the top that has been pinched off. Now this is the plant without the tip. So here there will be branches. Again, when the branches are grown, we will pinch off the top. So when the pinching is going on, concurrently, only thing that we have to think or take care is maintenance. And the maintenance will involve application of liquid manure, hoeing, khurpi karna hai, so that there is aeration and air passes through the soil, and weeding. Weeding means abhi koi extra agar घास या कुछ छोटे झाड़ दिखते हैं, we'll have to remove them in a systematic manner. So this is only maintenance. Now this liquid manure, students, this is also prepared at our college. We believe in producing organic plants. We do not use synthetic fertilizers. So this manure is produced in the college from the cow dung. We ferment the cow dung for a period of 15 days. Then after it has fermented, it is mixed with water, and that water is taken up, mixed with plain water in a proportion of 1:3, and then they are put in the pots. But when we are manuring them with this in-house prepared liquid manure, we have to see that all the pots are wet. Kyunki this liquid manure, it has a tendency of burning the plant, but it is very good. It is very good. So we use this liquid manure and a vermicompost that is produced again in-house in our department. And that takes care of our plants. Now these, after the maintenance, this is how it looks, a bushy appearance. And the more bushy it would be, more flowers it will produce like this. And you know, after all these flowers are there, it looks like a bouquet. आपको pot दिखता ही नहीं है, only healthy leaves and lots of blooms. Blooms माने flower. So these plants will now be ready with their bloom for the flower show in the month of December. These blooms, they generally last for 2 to 3 months. If the conditions are little cold, December, January, February, March, 4 months they would be there. और इतना thick रहता है, इतना buds रहता है कि one after the other they keep on coming. They will go on till March and early April as well. But at our college, because we have to think about multiplication, after 2 months towards March, we cut down these blooms right from here, and we keep on watering the plants. After 15 to 20 days, in these pots, we see small plantlets coming up. These plantlets are taken out and they are put in separate plant. एक pot में 3 से 4 छोटे-छोटे plantlets आते हैं. They are called suckers. So they are now replanted in other pots and they will be the mother plants. So see, we started with the mother plants, we have come a full circle and we have again come to the mother plant. So in a circular fashion, we are working and we do not need anything from outside. It is just a series of things that has to be done. Now, students, Shevanti, this all that I told you till now, it is about Shevanti or chrysanthemum as we call it in botany. Shevanti is our signature plant. We have over the years more or less specialized in that plant. But to show diversity, to add color to the flower show, and because we also run a course to teach our students about flowers, besides chrysanthemum, we also concentrate on seasonal plants. They add a new dimension and color to the floriculture unit. And unlike chrysanthemum, they are grown from seeds. ये कटिंग से ग्रो नहीं होता है, ये सीड से ग्रो होता है. और कुछ सीजनल्स जैसे झंडू, पिटूनिया, कार्नेशन, फ्लॉक्स, ये सब चीजें they grow in our garden. So these are grown in a medium which is not soil. Soil becomes very compact. It becomes very compact. It becomes very compact. So we use cocoa pit. Cocoa pit is the cover of coconut which is shredded out, and they are very coarse, बहुत coarse, very very hard, and they have a capacity of retaining water. Now this cocoa pit is mixed up with vermicompost, and because the seeds are so small, they are all germinated in these trays. इतना छोटा रहता है seeds. So you can see these germination trays. We make areas, we earmark areas, and then we put the seeds in these designated places. And when we put the seeds, we generally put it with a paper bag or with paper. This ensures that the seeds lie in a straight line and they do not overlap each other. After the seeds are put, they are covered up with another layer of cocoa pit. This is just because these seeds are very very small. They should not be eaten up by insects. They should not be eaten up by squirrel, or even they should not be blown up by air. So we packed down cocoa pit to protect these seeds. Once it so happened, हमने पिटूनिया के सीड बिल्कुल राई रहता है ना, राई के दाने जैसा छोटा रहता है. We had planted almost 1000 seeds in the trays, and then there was a big rain. All the seeds were washed off. So this is one precaution which is very very important to take. After this, they are watered regularly, And at this stage, when the seeds they germinate and they produce two leaves, at this stage they are ready to be transplanted. They are ready to be transplanted, and then they will grow to produce beautiful flowers. So this is how the seasonals are grown. Now this is one type of seasonal. This is zinnia, very colorful. This is petunia. These are the place where we ferment the cow dung, which is converted into the liquid manure. This is petunia. For the first 10 years, we had this whole, we used to grow all these plants on our departmental terrace. After that, because the number had started growing big, so we have brought it down. Now we do it on the ground. So this journey, which begins in the month of February, it culminates with a grand flower show in the month of December. Now this year long activity is not always smooth. Though everything is microplant, but every year there would be some challenges to overcome. Uh, Sometimes there would be excess water because of continuous rain. Many a times monsoon is delayed, no water. At other times it will be totally overcast, badal chai रहेंगे, and we need complete sunlight for the flowers to grow like this. And many a times the chill will not set in. The air has to be little cold. But these challenges are always addressed and overcome. They are a pain, but the hard work, it pays off when we see such vibrant colors all around us in the college campus. I can tell you a few examples. For example, 2 years back, just after we had finished our transplantation, there was a huge rain, deluge. And most of the challenges that are thrown at us are from the nature, very difficult to overcome. So it had rained very hard and there was water stagnation. So all the pots had to be drained manually. We did it because we have a very small workforce. Once all the plants, because of excess rain, they got infested with snails. They had to be manually picked up from the plants, and then salt was put across the pots and the package so that the snails would not further attack the plants. uh, though I am giving you these examples, through these examples I want to tell you that we have to take very quick decisions to mitigate a problem, to overcome a problem. But please remember, in no way am I discouraging you, because after all, we are all dealing with a natural process. And after we have dealt with all these problems, always remember there will be a beautiful sight to behold. And it is worth it. It is really worth it. Now, after we had completed almost 10, 12 years, in 2015, we added a new concept to our flower show. We added a, an event and we called it Papillon. Papillon means butterfly in French. This is actually a sit and draw competition for school students. Now, how is it different? We do not give any theme. We do not tell them anything. We just invite school students to come and visit the show, sit there and draw whatever they understand. We want their perceptions. And why did we start it? The mandate was to instill a love of environment and environmental awareness to develop an appreciation of beauty into these young blossoming minds. And when they see the plants from so near, they start thinking about it, and when they start thinking about it, they start putting it on paper. So for at least an hour they would be thinking only about these plants. And students, I take pride in saying for these many years we have a huge number of students coming and visiting us year after year, and they, whatever they draw, their drawing is also put up as exhibits all around the quadrangle for these 2 days. So they are judged. There would be five best prizes, but all that they draw is put across the quadrangle as a part of this exhibition. So this journey, which we started in 2003 with just around 500 plants, we had only 500 plants, we could count them. Today we have more than 25,000 plants. This is only because of judicious use of space, efficient time management, and we strictly follow deadlines, and there is a very high degree of teamwork. Let me tell you, we do not have a big workforce. Secondly, we have a undergraduate course, we have a postgraduate course, we have a research program running in the department, we also run an extension activity and then the flower show. But it is all because of teamwork. A single person will never be able to do it. And this unit has evolved as a self-sustaining event. And because of the magnitude, because of the amount of work it requires, the Times of India nominated us as green heroes. And because of this, it has further motivated us to go to higher, greater heights. Uh, Now, what has happened? This program at Hislop, we have also introduced a training module. Why? Because whatever we are doing, we wanted this to go to the student. We thought this will be an extension of the curriculum being botany, the subject, the core subject. And this has, helped us as well as student. It has been a two-way relationship. It has enriched our subject as well as provided research opportunities for our students. And in the process, what has happened? We have upgraded our knowledge. Teachers, as teachers, we have upgraded our knowledge, our skills, and we have been able to give this to our students so that in future they can set up their own enterprise. So I feel people with shared interest and common objective from different background, we have all come together to take it forward. Now, floriculture as such, if we consider floriculture and we want to take it up as um a revenue generating venture, then it requires a number of supporting function. The most important being compost. It's very costly. Number one. Number two, propagation, growing them in big numbers. Vermicomposting is very, very widely prevalent because it is organic and the method of generation is very simple. Now, the primary raw material of vermicompost is litter. Litter means the leaves that fall off from the trees in a natural manner. Uh, and what we noticed in and around Nagpur, there was quick and very easy availability of straw, ghas, straw. So we use this as a growing medium for mushroom. So what we did at Hislop, we adopted a unique way of integrating mushroom cultivation as an additional auxiliary function of floriculture. So that after harvesting of mushroom, the straw can act as raw material for vermicompost pit. Now, when we integrated vermicompost and mushroom cultivation with this floriculture, we thought this method of multiplication is known as the vegetative method. We thought, let us give our students something extra in terms of propagation, method of propagation. So we also introduced tissue culture technique, which could be simple tissue culture technique, not very high end. And this tissue culture technique could be started in a very standard laboratory. A standard college laboratory is sufficient to start this propagation through tissue culture. And tissue culture is a very, very simple and an alternative method by which plant species can be grown in big numbers. Why? You know, because in this method, we can grow genetically uniform, disease free plant in big number. Because the parent plant that we will choose would be disease free. And because we are doing it through a scientific method, they will be genetically pure. जब आप वेजिटेटिव मेथड से करते हैं, नेचुरल मेथड से करते हैं, you have to keep a lookout on the diseases. But when you pick up a parent and you have studied the parent and the parent is good, it has good qualities, you clone that parent. उसी parent के आप multiple copies बनाते हैं. And it is easy to do. It is independent of the time. It is, when you do vegetative, you have to depend on the monsoon. But here you can do it in a laboratory all the year round. And this is the reason, if we want to take up floriculture, we should have a small knowledge or background on tissue culture technique. So what we have done, we have given a hands-on training of tissue culture technique to our students, so that they have a knowledge on theory as well as the lab exercises. They are oriented with the various instruments that is required. And in tissue culture, because they will be growing in an artificial media, we tell them about the media preparation. What are the constituents of the media? What are the properties, or what are the units that has to be used in media preparation? And then what would be the explants? Explants means the parts of the plant that are taken off and that can be propagated in a medium. I hope it is not too scientific for all of you. So this is how it is taken, and see, from a simple single explant, we are growing so many plants, and these plants can be propagated in thousands of number. And when these plants have been grown, they can be then shifted to the garden. So tissue culture is one very, very simple method of growing plants in big number. The second training that we give to our student is mushroom cultivation. This is also an extension of cottage scale industry. You know floriculture, you know mushroom cultivation, you know vermicomposting. All the three are integrated in such a fashion that they can be taken up in a small unit area, and they can be a basis of cottage industry. We at Hislop concentrate on oyster mushrooms, and training is given to the students, which includes, this is the straw, which will include the substratum for mushroom, that is the straw preparation, then how the straw has to be filled up in the bags, baggaging, then These baggages have to be filled up with the spores of mushroom, the seeds. So they are taught how to grow the spores for development of mushroom, and then how they are harvested. Plucking of mushroom is also a technique which you just cannot just pick it up like that. There is a technique of picking up these mushrooms. And then lastly, packaging before you sell them off. This is all done here. We sell even mushrooms. Now, at the end of this mushroom cultivation, we take our students for an industrial visit. And this unit has been set up by one of our own students who is making huge profit from commercial growth and production and sale of mushrooms. After mushroom cultivation, the last unit that is the most important is vermicomposting. Now, this is considered as a thriving industry not only for floriculture but also for agriculture, because this is the basis of organic production. And because we have that many plants to grow, we need our own vermicompost pit, and we need our own huge quantities of vermicompost. Now the students are not only trained in the production of vermicompost, but they are also trained in the production of a biopesticide. Biopesticide in form of a fungus called trichoderma. Now, biopesticide is a plant origin product which will help to enrich this compost, and this will prevent any pathogen to attack the host. Instead of using synthetic substances to kill an infection, we use a plant based product, and that plant based product is a trichoderma, which is again made or manufactured in the laboratory, and students are trained in it. So what happens, we have a vermicompost pit, and we have a pit which has four columns, four regions. Why so? One thing you must have noticed, we have these gaps in between the walls. So once part of the pit is completely filled up with the litter, straw of mushroom, this is covered with earthworm. Earthworm are the living organisms which we employ to use for recycling of this matter, of the organic waste. Now, this earthworm will live on this soil and feed on the decaying organic waste. Now, after digestion, this undigested material will move through the alimentary canal of the earthworm. And in this process, the alimentary canal of the earthworm will convert the waste into natural fertilizer. This takes around 2 months. So what will we do? Waiting for another 2 months? No. So we have we have separated out it into these many columns. So after this area has been converted, the earthworm, they start moving from these gaps and they come and stay here. So once we have filled it up with organic waste, we start filling up this place. So when their work is over here, they come here and they start the work here. So we start filling up the third. So year round, we are getting vermicompost. They are also used for in-house work as well as packaged off and sold. So this is the third venture, which is an integral part of our floriculture unit. Uh, this is what I was talking about, trichoderma, which is an useful fungus, and it is used for biological control of in agriculture. They will protect the plant from pathogen, from disease. They will not allow any infection to enter, and this is done without hampering the surrounding. So in the soil, there is a lot of microflora, which is very important for growth. So they will not kill that microflora, they will only kill what is not needed. So when we add this trichoderma to vermicompost, it enhances the organic formulation, that is the vermicompost. And this, when this trichoderma is mixed with vermicompost, it has a very long shelf life. So this can be kept for a long time and it can be used the whole year round. So it does not go waste. So this is how students are also to prepare trichoderma
Ah,
in the department. And one thing you
oh,
must understand,
ah, ah.
all these things do not require a high degree
कैसा
of,
कीजिए
you
बोलो?
know, it does not require any high degree of precision. It does not require high degree of skill sets. This is just a small training that one needs. So all these activities, for flower growing, mushroom, vermicomposting, we have weaved all these together into a skill oriented course, and we have called it allied agricultural skill, which is nothing but an extension or of our subject. And we have integrated it with the research for our postgraduate students. Now, our postgraduate students have started working on the disease control of chrysanthemums, and they have showcased their research activity at the University Research Festival. You must have heard of it, Avishkar.
Yes, yes, yes.
And they have been able to compete and cleared various levels of competition. So, a single flower show with so many extensions was possible because of the vision, and it has really helped us to grow and take things to a greater heights. And with very simple, very small, little basic trainings, we can achieve a lot. Like is a common saying in English, sky will really be um, the limit. With very very small training, we can reach higher points. So this was a very brief account, of how we started and how the journey has been over the 16 years. And this has become important for botany. Botany has got accolades, but it has also become very important for the college. It is a signature program for our college. Students who have acquired this skill from us have set up their own enterprise after they have finished their conventional studies. One student has also secured admission in a foreign university in the UK with the help of this certificate that was issued to the student. The plants that are grown in our college are showcased in Raj Bhavan year after year. Many other government organizations like the railways, the CRPF, then the government offices, they are places where Hislop plants are always on display. Some other colleges, degree colleges in and around Nagpur suburbs, have taken up this model. They have taken plants from us, and they have also set up their own units. And we have seen to it that the show does not remain within the four walls of our college. We participate in all types of flower competitions that are held in and around the city. Every year, our plants, they bag awards at these competitions. And these competitions, they are judged by people who are experts, who are connoisseurs of plants and flowers, and their mandate has further helped us to improve ourselves. Uh, Besides all this, the most important part, it has helped us with a revenue generation unit year after year. Here I have shown you only about the last 5 years. This has been this is just a typical example, but we have been generating revenue for the last 16 years. Ours is the only department who is generating revenue in such a large scale. The This revenue has helped us to make it a self-sustaining unit. The profit element for us is very, very important. And this is because of the feedback that we receive from hundreds of people who visit us year after year. And we have tried to introduce new plants, new foliage leaves, but we have tried not to compromise with our signature plants. And let me add here, we are doing this thing for last 16 years, but we have not employed a large big army. There are just three people, three lady garden staff, and there are three people, the staff members in the department. It is just little extra, and that too with passion. So some planning, some systematic supervision has not only ensured recognition, but also has ensured big profit. And that is what motivates us. So a clear vision, a determination, honest hard work, I think these are the basic mantras behind any success, and it has applied to us also. So, like any other business pursuit, floriculture also has its challenges. The basic challenge would be from the weather. But if we are prepared, I think we can take up the challenge and we can overcome the challenge. And today, with complete conviction and with complete honesty, we can say that floriculture will hold a promise for all the budding entrepreneurs who have it in them, who have the zeal to take up this challenge, and then you will excel, and really the sky will be a limit. This is how we have gone about it. This is how you can go about it, and you can do much, much better than what we have done, because we have lots of limitations which we have to adhere to. So you can do it on a clear canvas and you can reach any height you want. Once again, I would like to thank Kasturi sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing my experience at Hislop with all of you. Now, if students would like to put up any questions if they have, I would most welcome them.
Thank you, madam. If anybody has any question, please unmute yourself and ask the question. If anybody has any question, you can ask the question. If no question, then I am very much thankful for this wonderful lecture by Dr. Bhowal madam. And I think I must congratulate your efforts and your college for getting Green Hero recognition by Times of India. Your lecture is not a simple lecture, it is a motivational and inspirational lecture. It is milestoning activity in your college, and I hope students will get inspired through this, and at least they will grow, they will do the gardening at their own bungalows. Just at least they will uh, make their bungalows little bit clean and green with the inspiration of your lecture. So thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much. If possible, in near future, we can arrange your lecture on vermicompost and tissue culture and other activities what you are doing so far. So with this, I am thankful to you. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes,
Thank
thank you.
you.